Hey guys, welcome back to the United Star. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Garner from the QPR Media. And if you guys haven't seen their video and their podcast, we're gonna have the link in the description below where I have gone and discussed about United, about QPR in depth. I think it's a video that you should see and you guys shouldn't miss. So Garner, thank you for coming on. Do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, about QPR Media, how it started, and how you fell in love with this club?
So I was born and raised into QPR. My dad has been following since what many would say our prime seasons in the 70s and 80s, where we were quite recognised in the what was the Division One, English Division One. I've always gone to QPR. I'm a season ticket holder, and I've always fed off the atmosphere. Obviously, going to Wembley for playoff finals and just enjoying the community that QPR has created in West London. And with our chat media, it's a group of QPR fans that were met together in a Instagram group chat made around the club. And after about a year or so, we kind of decided instead of texting and talking about QPR, we might as well make some content out of it because we're quite strong personalities. We're very committed and very outspoken when it comes to QPR. So I feel like the podcast so far, I think we're going to be on episode 7 now. We've been really enjoying it, and we're also going to be bringing out live streams and stuff. So similar to the United Star, just trying to enjoy the club that we support.
Yeah, and I think that's how all these channels start. You end up meeting individuals that have the same passion as you, and then it just goes on into creating a channel where you're expressing your voice. So it's great to hear that you guys have done so for QPR, because it's, even though it's such, I would say, a small club, having that fan base is what makes it such a good club and shows its history and shows its legacy. But let's focus on your team and on the upcoming game. Before the upcoming game, we've already had a game which a lot of United fans may be unaware of, which was the under 23s, which was a goal fest. I mean, 640 United
Yeah.
at Carrington. Do you see our next game with the senior team being similar, based on the players that you currently have in your squad?
Yes, I do believe that with the fans being back for the first time ever, especially on Warburton's side, our manager, he'll be wanting to make an impression on the fans to sort of give an idea of the sort of football we're going to be playing. Near the end of last season, we were very known for being very high press, attacking, and entertaining football. And it's what we want to carry on into this season, trying to push up the table. And if Man United bring the same similar sort of football that they want to play, with the world-class players that will be scattered throughout the pitch, mixed in with this youth that wants to make an impression on Ollie, I feel like it could be a very entertaining game. I can't see any less than 2 or 3 goals in the game for sure.
And I think you've said it right. In terms of United, also the youth have a point to prove. They need to grab those first team places while they can, while the first team players are out there. But talking more about QPR, I would like to understand, what, according to you, who are the players that as fans we should look out for? As football fans, there's a lot of potential in them to make it big in their
Uh,
career at this field.
Yes, so we have a player called Willock. Obviously, his brother plays for Arsenal. We've got Chris Willock, and he's been absolutely fantastic on the wing for QPR. He's sort of a very, he reads the game very well. He's not the fastest winger, and he's not the most like outwards, skillful player. But the way he can pick up the ball and make space and sort of play for the team is what stood out for us, especially the latter half of last season. And QPR quite known for bringing through young players. He's sort of that target player that we want to showcase and sort of maybe even sell onto a team like United should he make that big of an impact in the Championship. And another player is Elias Chair. We sort of see him as almost like a regen of Adel Taarabt. Obviously, he's Moroccan and he's a central attacking midfielder, and we've fallen in love with him at this point. He's the stats don't give him justice as to the sort of. He's a constant option. He's constantly looking for forward passes and through balls. And I feel like this season could be the season that he kicks on similar to Eze and sort of get up the leagues and stuff. And we'd be happy to see him progress.
I think that sounds exciting. And if any one of them could give Aaron Wan-Bissaka a run for his money, you definitely have it on your hands then. Because Mbappe couldn't. But talking about players and talking about who, we spoke about the youth. Something that we both as clubs are going through is one specific player that we're linked with. United have gladly got that player in Sancho, but we've still not announced. And we spoke about possibly having this player being announced during the game and then just getting one goal during our podcast. Can you tell
Yes,
the
yeah.
fans who this player is and why you guys are so happy that he may just end up at your club?
Yeah, so it's a player called Stefan Johansson, and he's a player that was particularly potent for Fulham during their playoff winning season, where they went up to the Premier League and unfortunately went straight back down. And that was when he was left out of the squad in the Premier League. He's a very strong, experienced midfielder in the Championship. He's very much a playmaker, and he shows his experience through the dynamics that he can bring to a team in picking out passes that even the cameramen don't see. He is someone that when we got him in January on loan for a 6-month loan from Fulham, he just immediately came in and boosted our results and got us from a relegation threatened team all the way up to even playoff pushing team. And we've gotten all the rest of our loans that made an impression: Austin, Sam Field, and some other players, Geordie Device. But he's the last piece of the puzzle that I believe we need to get that promotion push that the fans are longing for in this time of optimism. So if he was to be announced at the game, I'd be screaming my heart out in the stands. But I know it's a process, and we'll have to be patient.
I agree with you, but we also spoke. I mean, it is a Norway connection between Ole and Johansson, and you just see
Yeah.
that one goal. I wouldn't be surprised. But talking about players, talking about you guys making the next step, obviously this is a preseason game, and we shouldn't read much into it. I mean, a loss is a loss, a win is a win. It's more like getting minutes under the belt, and we'll talk about how important this game is for us. But what do you think takes QPR to the next step? Because I remember when I started following football, QPR was just on the verge of going down. They had one season in the league. I remember they came up where we hammered you with the Snake scoring a goal. But what makes you think that you guys can now take that next step? Because you guys did even get Rio Ferdinand, and we obviously saw how it went down with him. That was very unfortunate. But do you need the big names? Do you need the right talent? Do you just need the right mix of players? How do you see yourself coming back to the Premier League?
I feel like the main thing is when we came up, obviously it was very well documented, our financial aspects. We were basically taken over by Tony Fernandez, who's a board in the board of directors at Air Asia, the airline. And he came in and he just spent. He literally he saw the team, saw it was championship quality, apart from key players like Tarat, and just bought loads of marquee talent that just didn't gel together. Obviously, we were lucky to stay up the first season, obviously Aguero, and I won't go too far into it, but it was a last minute sort of hurrah, if you will, and we just about skimmed it. And then the next season we were 20th and straight down, and then back up in the playoffs, and we had a wage budget that was double any other team in the league. And it wasn't a sustainable structure for any club that want to be consistent, such as your Bournemouths and your Brightons that have stayed in the Premier League. And now we've still got the same owners, but we were taking a very reserved and very sensible approach to transfers. We buy players for cheap that may not be proven in other leagues. With Willock, as I mentioned, we got him from Benfica for under $1 million, and with some bonuses and whatnot. And we just bring them in, train them, sell them on. Bring them in, train them, sell them on. We sold Eze for 20 million with a sell-on clause, and that's the approach we need to take to get around the financial fair play fine that we received and sort of look to the future rather than into the past.
Yeah, and this model that you've been talking, it reminds me a lot of Moneyball. And to ask that question, do you think Brentford played a very big role in getting that model to the championship and having teams start following those models? Because we saw how Leeds made it to the next step. We've seen how Brentford are slowly getting back, and they're back in the Premier League, in fact. And now you're telling me that you guys are following a similar approach.
Yes, so with Brentford, ironically, our manager right now, Warburton, was the man who set out a lot of those plans at Brentford. He was manager for a while and sort of got some promotion pushes for them, and that's the sort of blueprint that they followed later on. And one thing that they did so well was the scouting network. I hate to say it as a rival fan, but their scouting network and affiliates with Danish teams and teams around the world, where they buy and sell between them talent. It's what miracles for Brentford, for such a small club that's been below us throughout their history, and suddenly they've just had a resurgence and pushed into the Premier League, and people are talking about them, the sort of that dark horse, if you will. Hopefully they can come straight back down, but they do have a model that even if they did come back down, it wouldn't be a stay down situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the pathway that they selected is something all the lower championship teams are going to do, because they earn a certain amount of money and at the same time they improve their squad. But talking about improving your squad, another player that you're linked with from our rivals, Tommy Doyle, we spoke about him, getting him on loan.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us why, as a fan base, you guys are excited for this player? And while we're at this, let's even discuss, if today I gave you an open array or open buffet to Manchester United's youth, who would you pick and why?
Yeah, so with Tommy Doyle, he's a player that sort of follows the instructions that Warburton wants, where he has the experience already in players like Adoma and Johan Barber, who know the league quite well. And then we've also want to get in youth and loans, especially in the season with Eze in his prime. We had players like Naki Wells and Jordan Hugill who succeeded, but we also want to look into the younger players that are hungry and that want to make an impression, not only for us as a team and push us forward, but also, let's say we got a loan from Manchester United or Manchester City to push them forward as well, if they wanted to bring them into the first team in the future, seeing talent. And we had a discussion on the podcast about under 23 stats and how much they stack up compared to such a competitive league as the Championship. But Tommy Doyle is a very highly spoken captain of their youth team, and he's a player that will be up to the Championship standard, in my opinion. But it's weighing up the risk and reward situation, because we've loaned players like Jack Clark from Tottenham Hotspurs that just hasn't kicked on for us and hasn't melded very well with the team. For your second point about youth at Man United, one player that stands out is James Garner. He is an absolute, marquee sort of midfielder that when we played Nottingham Forest, he scored a screamer and he just dominated the midfield and it just had a square around him when no one could get near him. And that's the sort of player we need. If we don't get Johansson, James Garner, it would be a sustainable move for both sides, where even if we were paying his wages, it wouldn't cost us any immediate transfer fee, and we'd get a season of a very well-polished youth player that, even though might not get the first team appearances that he might want at Manchester United at the moment, he would definitely make an impression, just as he did last season at QPR.
I think you said it. I think you said it right, but I don't want to get into way too much. If you guys want to talk about the under 23, hear it out. Do check out their podcast. I don't want to repeat.
Yes,
it.
Yeah.
Check that out. But I agree. I think Garner would fit in well at QPR, and I think there are a lot of players who could, have a major impact at your club. And the loan system, that's a different topic. Do check their podcast out.
Yes. Sorry.
Getting back to the game and how important that is. Do you care if you win or lose? Because from a Manchester United perspective, I think about getting minutes under your belt. But at the same time, I know that if, let's say, God forbid, we lose, it doesn't matter to me, but it matters to a certain fan base within the club that will then go onto the Ole out bandwagon. Do you have something similar at your club where, let's say, supposing if you guys win, surprisingly, it's like, oh, we're going to have one of the best seasons. But let's say you get thrashed 3 or 4-0, it's like, it's relegation time for us. Is that a feeling among the fans as well at your place?
It's a different approach that we're taking to pre-season, where we didn't last season, where we usually play against teams that are below us in the football pyramid. Whereas this time we're looking up and we're playing against you, Manchester United, and also Leicester City. So we're very thankful for having both the under 23s and the first teams play against each other, because it gives us a chance to sort of see how can we fare against talent that's even superseding the Championship into the Premier League, and it gives a good experience for the players to sort of see where they stand, because it's very easy to beat a team 4-2 in the 4th division, or for a 5-2 or whatever. But to, even if we lose against Manchester United, if we give ourselves a good fight and we show that we have legs even before the season starts, it gives a good glimpse into where we could be heading this season. And it's the same for Manchester United. Obviously, you playing Derby County and things, you don't have have to win the games, but you need to know where you stand with these players such as Juan Mata and Mason Greenwood, who may not stand a chance and get into the first team this season should you get the players that you want.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I've said it over and over again, for Manchester United, it's a building curve. You start with Derby, then you go to QPR, then Brentford, then Everton. You just get yourself ready for the season. And I think you guys, while I'm not a big fan of playing the big clubs when you're slightly or on a lower end, I do believe that it's a way of checking out where you stand and how you can improve. You start with United, you go to a smaller club, you play Leicester again. It keeps showing you where you stand and how you can improve. But any players you're looking out for? You've mentioned James Garner. Is there any other Manchester United player that you want to keep your eyes on for this game? Because while obviously QPR is the focus as a fan,
Yes.
is there any player that you think that your fans would look out for from the United side?
On the United side, I think a player that has done it in the Championship as well as in the Premier League is Tuanzebe as well. I've always quite liked him, watching him play, and we have a back three the way we play, and we also have a backup centre back that we've bought called Dunn from Burnley on a free transfer. But he is a very, very good player. I remember him playing for Aston Villa, and he was quite a brick house sort of centre back that was never afraid of backing out of tackles or getting stuck in, and that's the sort of centre back that we need. We already have a ball playing centre back. We already have players that are willing to get forward, but players like Tuanzebe are few and far between, really, when it comes to especially Championship players. It's a player that a lot of Manchester United fans quite like, and has his good moments and bad moments. But for his age, he's definitely ready, in my opinion, for a loan move to the Championship.
I think you've mentioned two players that have captained Manchester United at every level till now, and I think they would be great additions to a QPR squad. Personally, I believe deals are a great way to go about it, especially if you can get a connection with the club so that, let's say, we can develop our players and at the same time, you guys can go up in the ladder and get back to where you guys were. But just to put a quick end to things, I know predicting this is pointless because it's like finding a knee in the haystack, but what are you going for? I mean, I know what you said on your podcast, and that's really ambitious. But if I told you to be slightly more realistic, what scoreline would you go for?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind us sharing the spoils with a draw, something like a 1 or a 2-2, as long as it's entertaining football. Because, as you said, the result isn't too big. Obviously, we'll take it as a little bit of a pride thing if we beat Manchester United. It's sort of a thing we'd probably joke about and stuff and say we beat Manchester United, we're bigger than this league. But in reality, it's more about seeing what players we can talk about afterwards and say, oh, this player for Manchester United kicked on really well. I haven't seen him before. Or this player for QPR, we signed him. He's much better than I thought he would be. It's sort of an audition time for them, for both sets of fans, to sort of judge these players and say, this player, Ollie should pick him, Warburton should pick him. And it's sort of it's going to be very good. And it's going to be good to be back at the ground. It's literally a train away from me, Loftus Road. So I'm so looking forward to going back and getting that match feel again.
Yeah, it would be absolutely buzzing. I can't wait to see Old Trafford packed again. And you've got it right on. I mean, personally, I'm waiting for Tom Heaton to become our number one goalkeeper, and these are just his auditions going on. But again, as I said on your channel, I expect it to be a draw because it's our youth playing. Let's be fair. It's probably our third team that's starting the game, and versus a first team or slightly second team of QPR.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting maybe a 2-2 draw with Tom Heaton saving a penalty. But other than that, guys, that's all that we have. Do check out QPR Media's podcast. It's going to be in the link below. I had a great time going on. They're a great bunch of lads. And if you guys do support QPR, do subscribe to them and do hit them up on Instagram. But until then, let us know what you think is going to happen in the game. Do like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.